Panthers sitting last on the ladder. Matty Johns and Cooper Cronk have identified an interesting change in Nathan Cleary's game.
And I'll talk about Nathan specifically here. But we've said for a while, I find those cross shapes like that, I find them dangerous. Yep. Now, what I mean by dangerous, what it starts to do to playmakers in the long term, what actually starts to happen is you start to get into that mode of going across and you start, if you're not careful, you start to lose your upfield punch.
Yeah. When your hips are east-west, for example, as opposed to north-south, you become less effective as a ball player, right? So whether you can run a crossfield 4 or 5 times, doesn't matter, but you need to, at some stage, get your hips back. Yeah, a couple of things there, but they're easily fixed for someone like Nathan, who can do it better than most. Yeah.
Two of the brightest minds in our game there, Matty Johns and Cooper Cronk, spotting something about Nathan's play that was a bit of a concern for them, and they make a fair point. You know, Nathan, when I look at this, like he used to set up with that play anyway, like all the time, and then they'd have a shot. And when they had the shot, they had 4 or 5 options at any given time, and he could play any one of them, and he was effective. And so, because they had so much strike power and firepower and X factor, at the moment they lack confidence, lack belief. They've lost players, and they just don't have that punch. So that setup play is not as effective. And they make a good point, because I know myself, when I was out of form as a half, that was the play you went to. And I see it in a lot of halves.
Why do you go to that play?
It's just the easy, but it's a drop off. And it's the only, you do that when you've got a lack of, you don't have as many options, and you're not running the ball as much yourself.
There's no Crichton, there's no kick out, there's no Burton. Like, they've lost so much talent. So I believe that he used to run that play all the time, but he had better options. So now they're just going, oh God, there he is, and and no one's reading him as well as what he's.
They've lost strike, and we've spoken about it a lot. But have they lost the desire, the mongrel, the intimidation factor?
I think they've lost that real hard edge that they've had, where they just would never go away, and they're not going away.
Like this, Gordy.
But they're not as hard as what they used to be for 80 minutes.
And I reckon the other factor as well, Gordy, is, and you look at that play there that reinforces it, they're a side who had a lot of attitude and had a lot of confidence and even a little bit of arrogance and a swagger. You know, they'd walk in, Luai would walk in with the boom box blaring, and it was they were an intimidating side to come up against, with all the players that they've lost, but specifically James Fisher-Harris, Stephen Crichton, and now Jerome Luai. I just reckon they've lost a little bit of that, being the side that every other team feared.
Yeah, boys, I hear you, Gordy, using the words desire, hunger. I still think desire is there, but what I'm seeing is their fatigue.
Yeah, they're in the championship rounds now.
But through their errors, they are defending for the majority of their matches. They're conceding upwards of 20 points per game, which is completely unheard of from the Penrith Panthers. And sometimes we can view that as a lack of desire, but they're absolutely cooked out.
But I push back on that. I actually think they're mentally fatigued. It's therefore, they think they've got the desire.
Don't disagree.
To stay up for that long.
Yes, don't disagree.
It's almost inhumane. Like, honestly, to be as great as they were for as long as they were, and if you've won a comp, to back it up the next year is hard enough, let alone to do it for 4.
I can't remember a player that's been so dominant for 5 years. Like, can you name a player for those 5 years, he was the greatest in the world? That whole team's been up for that long. Like, it's really hard as an individual to stay up. So to keep a whole team up, they've done an amazing job, but they're not where they used to be.
Liam Martin, guys, is just a warrior. He's one of my favourite players. To watch him come from the field against Manly with about 12 to 15 minutes remaining in that match and not return to the field, it's probably at that point I'm going, what's going on here? when the warrior in Liam Martin's coming from the field and just bandaged and strapped, and here we are in the early rounds of the season, and he's not on the field when it matters most. That's a concern for me.
I hadn't lost hope or desire in the Panthers, and I kept saying every week, no, they'll be right. But after the weekend, I think finally, I don't think they can win the premiership.
I don't know how many wins they've got over. Is it something like 11? That's tough.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree quickly before we move on?
They got to win 12 of their last 16 games.
Here it is. Here, Gordy's been back in the lab.
Oh, look out!
He's been in the lab again, Gordy. Look out!
He's getting used to this. We'll talk us through it,
10.
Gordy, if you can, please.
Well, I'm not good at stats, mate. I just lean on them. But
Okay.
look, no, but like to do that through State of Origin, losing, and I think Cleary will play. I think there's 3 or 4 that might go, right? So they might lose their fullback, they might lose their 7, definitely their 13, right? And Liam Martin, they'll put him in a penalty to shop out there, and he'll play Origin because New South Wales need him. Then they come out of that. And they'll play some big sides and some sides trying to make a move. That's the tough part. It's not now.
Absolutely.
It's, round 20 when they need to be.
So
cracking
the top 4 is pretty much gone. We've got to win 14 from 16.
No, well,
that ain't happening.
that's
right?
not
So
true. Yeah. But I'll just take you back because a minute ago, you're actually putting the pen through them. You don't.
I don't think they can win the comp this year.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yep.
It's the first week of.
Do you think they can make the top 8?
I think they can make the top 8. I think it's going to be very
you think
hard.
they
I
will?
would say most likely they won't, but I think they can, if you know what I mean. Like there's a possibility they can.
I'm just not game enough to ride them.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is.
No,
it's-
no, and you tread because of how
Do you think
good
they can win the
be.
comp?
No, I don't. I don't think they can win the comp.
Do you know?
No, not anymore.
Gordy?
No.
Okay, there you go.